Welcome back to season 6 of Time to Change.
We have some amazing conversations lined up from people doing the work. I'm excited for those and the change that it'll hopefully spark.
I can't wait to jump in. So let's get started.
So let's get to it. Welcome, Dom. How you doing, man?
I'm feeling great. I get to hang with awesome people for several minutes. So my cup is full.
Yes.
My cup is full.
Yes. And today, Gehan Haridy-Ardanowski, you know her as G, in the house today. We are so thrilled to have her. And she is the founder and CEO of Golden Synergy Touch LLC. And I'll start off by hey, tell us a little bit about you and what you do at Golden Synergy.
I just want to say, first of all, I am so thrilled to be here. But even more than that, Jason, thank you so much. You got my name correct. And that is no small feat. You have no idea. Dom, I'm thrilled to be here. And yes, I'm G, everyone. I'm actually the founder and creative consultant of Golden Synergy Touch. And I am an HR consultant because, of course, we need more of those in the world, right? It's fabulous people. And my approach to human resources is really twofold. So I do fractional HR consulting, but I also simplify personal branding for sensational HR pros and really anyone who likes my vibe. And I do that by aligning Clifton strengths and LinkedIn to amplify value and visibility for career victory. So that's a little bit of that in a nutshell. And my transition magician moniker is a whole other long story in itself because I've had a topsy-turvy, amazing career journey over the past 20 some odd years, but honored and privileged to be here, friends. So thank you for having me.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, we appreciate you being here. I'll start off again to tell us more how you work with people at Golden Synergy Touch. And you mentioned it a little bit in your intro, but tell people, how they can work with you.
Absolutely. So I do fractional human resources consulting. And in a nutshell, if for those of you who have heard the word fractional, not familiar with it, basically it's for smaller to mid-sized companies who can't necessarily afford a full-on HR presence, but they know they need the help because they've got those pain points that only people, as some of us in the world, can come along and help solve. So I do some of that. And I also do LinkedIn training. I do Clifton strengths and UMAP strategy. And I align those two to help simplify personal branding and getting people visible on LinkedIn to position themselves for all kinds of opportunities, whether it's in the workplace, in their community, just to be able to get online and have these conversations, even just giving them that comfort and confidence in and outside the workplace space. So does that kind of nail it?
Yes, that was perfect.
Yeah, you get to play in some awesome, much needed spaces. So for all of those, my fellow HR nerds who probably saw your bio and said, I'm going to tune in because she likes HR, I like HR. We are in, what's a good adjective to use? A very interesting time in our society. And one of the things I've always appreciated about human resources is that this field absorbs all that there is and helps workplaces navigate that in terms of people policies. This is happening, what it means. I'm curious, as you're working with organizations today, or even HR pros who are like, help me get my life in order and figure out how to navigate this. What are some of the trends that you're seeing, or some of the key issues that you are helping organizations grapple with in the HR space?
Well, I think a lot of it is just having the conversations and the transparency. And I think a lot of times the simple questions that I ask companies and leaders is really, what are the conversations that they're having with their people, and what is it that they're looking for from HR to help temper some of that. So a lot of times, and not even just nowadays, but just historically, one of the things that has been a bit of a challenge has just been that transparency. And again, HR being seen as that evil presence, if you will. And that goes back to my own brand and why in my headline I say the non-evil HR approach, because that's what we need more of. We need more people to be, as transparent as possible. And if we can't have those conversations with our employees, to basically share a little bit of why we can't be as forthcoming as we'd like to be. But it's just about being a presence. And I think a lot of times that stigma has just really given HR a bad name. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you talk about it. You talk about it in your book. So right above G's shoulder there is a QR code. If you scan that QR code, it'll take you right to this fantastic book. And one of the cool things
I
that I
love the
like
title.
about this book, From Satan to Sensational HR, 7 Ways to Humanize Evil Human Resources. I love this. This is fantastic. And one of the cool things that I love is during the course of the book, there's a whole bunch of space for you to take notes and to make this interactive and put in your own spin. I'm going to read a little section and then we're going to kind of dive in a little bit, but I love this part right here. In another previous role where I'd aha'd that sustainable, flexible, laughable, tweetable mantra, my then boss shared the starfish story, adapted from Lauren Isley's The Star Thrower. I wasn't familiar with it, and I can't recall the exact context of why she'd shared it, but it likely related to the impact we felt we were making as an HR team, or possibly the lack thereof at that time. If you're not familiar, the original story is about a man walking along a beach when he encounters a boy picking up thousands of starfish that had washed up after a terrible storm and throwing them back into the water. When the man tells the boy he can't save them all, the boy's response is, "I made a difference to that one." And from there, the man joined in the throwing and others did too. I love that for so many different reasons, but in the context of this book and what we're talking about with HR, because and I was going to wait till later, but it aligns so perfectly with what you just said. We have a responsibility as HR leaders to stand up and be a voice for those that don't have a voice or those are too scared to stand up for themselves, to be the balance between both sides. We are there to protect. We're also there to help and to really listen and be responsive, not reactive. And so I love that piece and I love that story. I had heard that story before, but I love that you added in the book and it's so apropos. Tell us, because when Dom asked the question about what's an adjective to describe what's happening right now, dumpster fire was like one of the things that came to my mind. How do we now, when all of these things are changing and constantly we're bombarded with the changes that we read about, we hear about, that's in the news, you can't escape it. People are losing jobs. All kinds of companies are being disbanded. Things are happening left and right. How do we as leaders in this field show up in that way so that we can be, I saved that one. I showed up for this person. I showed up for this organization. How do we do that now in this time period?
Honestly, it's one foot in front of the other, one day at a time. And we hear so often about the exodus, if you will, of HR professionals running, from corporate and wanting to start their own thing because they feel unseen, unheard, undervalued. I will tell you that my own journey didn't come lightly. I'm not here because I decided one day I wanted to go out on my own and change the world or anything like that. It's because I've been through enough transitions over the years to know what you can only do so much. And that's why when I say the one foot in front of the other, it's about showing up for your people. It's about making the dent in any way that you can to leadership and knowing that at the end of the day, they're going to make their decisions, whatever the decisions are going to be, with or without your know-how. You're there to advise. You're not there to mandate. as an HR professional. That's where we get stuck sometimes. And that's where the heartburn comes in. And so what has really helped me over the years is when I've had people, even years after the fact, come back to me and say the things of, I remember you, G, because you did this when other people weren't, for whatever the discussions were at the time or the situations were. And that's all we can do. It's all I can do to sleep at night. And that's what I hear from other people in our circles, because I know that, and I will tell you this too, and I hate to bombard, or overuse, if you will, the word community, but it really, like, within the HR community, it's almost like we're kind of banding together to have these conversations and support each other as we try to navigate, through this as best we can.
That's brilliant. Brilliant answer. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. And I appreciate the balance you have in your practice of helping organizations as an HR representative, but also helping other HR professionals, to put it this way, put their oxygen mask on first and take care of themselves. This to add on to the previous question, this is also a time where we're seeing the layoff storm continue in many regards. And it's affecting many in the HR community as well. But one of the things I appreciate about your practice is that you're helping HR professionals to brand themselves and to position themselves well to be resilient.
Yep, exactly.
So I would love for you to speak to that community that you referenced. What are some of the things that you have to offer as general advice or counsel for HR professionals to thrive or at least demonstrate resiliency in this environment?
Don, thank you for asking. That's a great question. And one of the things that I even shared today, and I think, Jason, you might have caught this, but I'm actually I'm presenting shortly on LinkedIn visibility and just, commenting, for example. I can't tell you what employee advocacy has meant to me over the years as an HR professional, and trying to get people, employees in general, to put themselves out there and differentiate themselves and such. But more than ever now, especially with human resources, there are opportunities around us. And yes, some of us do go after similar clients or what have you, but at the end of the day, people will buy from people. And what I offer as an HR professional might not be what someone else, or you, Dom, or Jason, we're all different, right? That's not a good thing or a bad thing or anything. It's just we're different and we all complement each other. It's what community is all about. And so what I do is I nudge people to get off of I use the word took us a lot, but get off your took us and get on LinkedIn. You are more than a human resources professional in your headline. You're more than the blurry picture. You're more than just, I work for XYZ company that will, may change tomorrow. And I'm that person that, I don't want to say voice of reason, but that person that's kind of guiding HR professionals and others, really, for that matter, through the process to say you're better than that, because your job can change on the dime. And so to go from, that corporate environment, if you want to, venture out on your own, whatever the case may be, you need to find a way to amplify your voice and stand out in the world, because otherwise, like I always say, we can't see you if we literally cannot see you. If you're not visible online or anywhere, we don't know that you're there. So it's just helping and guiding others along the way so that we can all, what's that quote, rise by lifting others, or tides. You know where I'm going with this. Thank you. I'm bad with some of these quotes.
We got it. And that's a great point. It was a great question, Dom. Thank you so much for being here. And people, when you see this, make sure you scan that QR code and get your own copy of this fantastic book. We have been talking to G in the house today. Quick and into the point, telling us why she does what she does and how she makes a difference in the world. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being on the show and telling other people a little bit about you and a little bit about your book and why you do what you do. G, we will catch you later. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you both so much for having me. Take care. Thank you.
Take care, G.